Greetings, art students. Today we're going to look at assignment 2, and I'm going to give you a little demonstration for how to do the gradation spheres. So normally you'll have mixed up your 5 different grays on your palette to do your gradation scale with. So you've got your white, your black, and if you'll have had your 3 blobs of white that you'll add a little bit of black to go from light gray to medium light gray to medium gray, and you'll have 2 blobs of black that you'll have added a little bit of white to make a medium dark gray and a darker gray. You want to have a lot of the medium gray here because with that you're going to paint the 2 gradation spheres that are going to be dry brush later, but you need to paint them right away so they're going to dry. So you'll have cut your paper in half and paint those 2 in gray. And now we're going to be ready while that dries to work on the 2 blank circles, which are your wet brush circles. So to do this, basically you're going to need 3 different brushes if you have them. One of them is going to be for your black and dark gray, one is going to be for your medium and light gray, and one is going to be for your white, okay? So the way an artist usually holds a palette is like this, but you know, if you're working on a table, you can actually work with your palette beside you. It depends on whatever you're most comfortable with. I'm going to work with the palette beside me just so you can see it without the shadow on my paper. So if you're right-handed, you're going to start and paint the black onto the left side of your ball so you don't drag your hand over it. If you're left-handed, you're going to draw it onto the right side of your sphere so that you don't drag your hand over it. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to start with my right hand. So we start by putting a very narrow range of black on one side of your gradation sphere, making it kind of like a black crescent moon, okay? And then what you can do without even wiping your brush on your rag, you can go right into your darker gray and you can make a kind of a circular motion, blending it with the black crescent that you've got there, okay? So once you've blended that a bit, and you know, it's okay to show the brush marks, you're a painter, so it's fine. You're going to wipe your brush a bit on your rag, go into your medium dark gray, and again, you're going to try to blend it with the darker gray which is beside it, okay? And you've got to work fairly quickly because the acrylic paint tends to dry quite fast as opposed to oil paint, which dries more slowly. And you can even use your fingers if you want to mix a bit, okay? So again, you're going to wipe your brush one last time. You're going to go into your medium gray, so that's really the gray that's in the center. And again, you're going to blend it with the color on the left. And notice that I'm making a kind of a circular motion with my brush. When you get to the bottom, if it's drying too quickly, again, you can blend a bit with your finger. And I think I'm actually going to use the same brush to go into my second lightest gray. So again, I'm wiping it. I go into my second lightest gray and I blend this, as you can see me doing here. And you know, if at this point it's difficult to get it to blend well with the other gray, you can always go onto your palette knife with your brush and you can actually blend in between those 2 different gray tones and try to go back and blend them properly on your paper, okay? So now I think you're ready to wipe your brush and put it into the water. You're going to go with your next brush, which is going to be for your light gray. And you're going to use your lightest gray. And again, you might have to do a little bit of mixing on your palette to make those 2 grays blend properly with each other. And you can go back down the middle with that mix. And you can always go back into the slightly darker gray to get that to work. And finally, you're going to be ready for your white. So just stick your brush in the water, go into the brightest white that's on your palette, and do the very right side of your sphere, but without touching the lightest gray. Then you will put your brush on your palette and you'll very carefully take a bit of the lightest gray, mix it into the edge of your white, and then you'll be able to blend that in between the two values with your... So there you go. This is your wet brush technique of a gradated sphere. And, you know, it's always going to look even more blended the further you get away from it. So you can, you know, pick it up and show it farther away. I'm going to put this aside and now I'm going to show you the dry brush technique. So yes, hopefully you're only start once your gray spheres are completely dry, and your brush has to be quite dry to do this. I find that the bristle brushes work better than the nylon brushes for this. A bristle brush tends to be the brush which would be a lighter color in your brushes. So notice the difference between the two bristles here. So the bristle brush, quite dry, I'm going to start with the black on the left side, and I just take a tiny bit of black on the brush, and what I do is I start to do what we call scumbling. So that is, I can put it quite thickly on the far side, but then I start to drag it across the surface, and listen to the sound. I think I have too much on my brush, so I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm going back, listen to this sound. See how it sounds like little mice with their feet scurrying across the floor? That's the kind of sound you want to have, and it's going to make a sort of a dryish textured brush stroke that will give a type of gradation by showing little tiny holes that go through to the medium gray in underneath. And then, you know, go back and give another coat of the black on the side so your gradation becomes stronger. And once again, dry your brush on the rag and try to scumble that out so that you're getting a gradation by working with a dry brush and texture, okay? All right, so that looks not bad for one side of the dry brush. You always try to leave a little bit of the actual gray ball in the middle or a bit more towards the lighter side. Put your brush in the water and take your other brush, which has been drying, dry it again a little bit on your rag, and go into your completely white paint and put it on the far right side of your ball. Notice this goes, the white tends to go on less transparently than the black. And again, you're going to wipe your brush a little bit on your rag so it becomes quite dry, and you're going to scumble it out and try to show little bits of the gray value underneath showing through, okay? So here we go. And it's going to make a kind of a feathered texture, which is fine. I mean, you're making a painting, not a photograph, so, you know, we need to see some of the evidence of your hand as a painter. And again, I'll go back in with a bit more white and just touch up the edge to make it brighter. All right, so here you've got your two different techniques, the dry brush and the wet brush. And you know, if you're not happy with your results, then you can always try again. You've got an extra gray ball and an extra white ball to try this on. So good luck painting, students. Bye.